When the guns of the First World War fell silent in 1918, the victorious Allies intended to ensure a conflict of that magnitude could never happen again. Their solution was to place the crushing weight of the war's fallout squarely on the shoulders of a defeated Germany. German leadership was summoned to the Palace of Versailles to receive preset terms they would have to implement and endure. They were stripped of vast territories, their military was capped at 100,000 men, and they were forced to sign a war guilt clause, demanding £6,600 million in reparations. This 10,000 mark banknote illustrates the mathematical scale of the economic collapse that followed. The burden of Allied reparations rapidly destroyed the value of the currency, wiping out the life savings of ordinary citizens and sparking mass starvation. The Allies believed they were engineering a permanent peace through punishment. Instead, by pushing an entire population into absolute destitution, they created the desperate conditions required for radical extremism to take root. Out of this despair stepped Adolf Hitler. A gifted public speaker, he weaponized the public's economic anger, scapegoating minorities and political opponents as the sole architects of Germany's misery to consolidate dictatorial power. Once in control, Hitler began testing international boundaries. He rapidly rebuilt his military in direct violation of the Versailles Treaty, eventually swallowing Austria and sweeping into the border regions of Czechoslovakia. Facing these aggressive expansions, British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain and the French government made a calculated choice. Terrified of sparking another global slaughter, they pursued a policy of appeasement, conceding territory to Hitler in the hope it would satisfy his ambitions. Knowing the Western democracies would not fight, Hitler secured his eastern border. He shocked the diplomatic world by signing a non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union, removing the threat of a two-front war. The diplomatic strategy of ignoring border violations to preserve the peace failed. It handed Hitler the industrial resources, the strategic geographic positioning, and the confidence he needed to launch a full-scale world war. On September 1, 1939, over 1 million German troops poured into Poland, shattering the border barrier and forcing the deeply reluctant Allies to declare war. Germany lacked the resources to survive the kind of 4-year war of attrition they fought in 1914. To win, they deployed a tactical departure from trench warfare known as Blitzkrieg, or lightning war. At the center of this strategy was the Panzer tank. Massive armored divisions would punch through enemy lines, followed immediately by motorized infantry units and close air support from the Luftwaffe overhead. These speed-based tactics bypassed traditional fortifications. Within 6 weeks, the German war machine overran the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg, forcing the surrender of France. The speed of the German advance cut off the Allied armies. Hundreds of thousands of British and French soldiers were left trapped and exposed on the open beaches of Dunkirk, requiring a desperate naval evacuation just to survive. By replacing static warfare with a doctrine of speed and momentum, the German military rendered the defensive strategies of the Western Allies obsolete, leaving Britain isolated across the English Channel. To finish the war in the West, Hitler needed to launch an amphibious invasion of the British Isles. But to transport his troops safely across the Channel, he first had to destroy the Royal Air Force and take control of the sky. The numbers were stacked against the defenders. The British had to rely on a few hundred fighters, like these Hurricanes and Spitfires, tasked with intercepting thousands of incoming German bombers. But the British possessed a hidden technological advantage. A network of tall steel masts along the coast formed the world's first integrated air defense system, radar. It could calculate the direction and altitude of incoming German aircraft long before they reached their targets. Infuriated by a British retaliation raid on Berlin, Hitler made a fatal strategic error. He ordered the Luftwaffe to stop attacking military airfields and pivot to bombing civilian cities. This shift took the pressure off the Royal Air Force, giving them the vital time they needed to repair their bases. The combination of early warning technology and a strategic error broke the momentum of Blitzkrieg. Unable to conquer the skies, Hitler abandoned his plans to invade Britain and turned his eyes toward the east. In June of 1941, Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa. It was a massive invasion of the Soviet Union designed to secure the agricultural land and oil resources required to fuel a permanent German empire. The scale of the assault was staggering. Over 3 million troops crossed the border, splitting into 3 massive army groups, pushing toward Leningrad, Moscow, and Kyiv. But the vast geographic expanse of Russia stretched German supply lines to their breaking point. As the Soviet winter arrived, temperatures plummeted, freezing tank engines and halting the ill-equipped German soldiers in the snow. Recognizing the terrain as his greatest asset, Joseph Stalin traded space for time. He absorbed the initial shock of the invasion and mobilized 16 million fresh reserves to counterattack. By pushing deep into an endless, freezing environment, the German military sacrificed their only real advantage: speed. They were now trapped in the exact kind of grinding battle of endurance they had built their army to avoid. The conflict concentrated in the Battle of Stalingrad. The open-field tank maneuvers of the early war devolved into combat inside skeletal urban ruins, where ground was fought for house by house and room by room. The urban combat consumed hundreds of thousands of lives on both sides. Ultimately, a Soviet encirclement forced the surrender of an entire German army, breaking the offensive capabilities of the Nazi war machine in the East. Across the globe, the Tripartite Pact had aligned Germany's ambitions with those of Imperial Japan. Just as the tide was turning in Russia, Japan launched a surprise strike on the United States naval fleet at Pearl Harbor, as evidenced by this immense explosion over the harbor. With the United States and Japan entering the fray, the separate theaters of conflict fused into a singular, interconnected struggle. The chain reaction of unchecked aggression had officially drawn in the world's remaining superpowers, guaranteeing an era of total global war.